All right, guys, we're back here on Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. Max Barr, live and in living color, where he usually is. Me, I'm not where I usually am. We've been laughing for the last 5 minutes about the just scenario right now. Internet's not great, all this other stuff, but I'll tell you, Florida said it's a great day to be a Florida Gator because it's 92-83 victory over Kentucky. Another win for the Gators. Didn't cover the spread, though, Max. What wound up being, what was it, 13.5? Is that right?
Yeah. 12 and a half. 12 and a half.
12 and a half. Incredible. So there's that. Florida gets another big win. We'll talk about Vanderbilt's win against Texas A&M. Another win for the Commodores. Another loss for the Aggies. And speaking of not so great results for a certain team on the bubble, the Georgia Bulldogs are about to lose by double digits at Oklahoma. We'll talk about that one as well. You guys are asking if that's a great question if I'm at Cracker Barrel. It does seem that way, right? I'm out on a porch, in the rocking chair. You may rock the whole time. Let me just like do a little rocking action.
Right, there goes the camera.
Yeah, there it goes. That's how it worked. But so, I'm family get together in the mountains, Max Barr. But I'll tell you who's reached the mountaintop in the SEC so far. It's the Florida Gators who get the win. As we said, 92-83 in this one. You and I were talking a little bit before we started hitting record here. And I said, certainly if you're a Kentucky fan, you don't come out of this one feeling that bad. Miss some easy shots you felt like, also hit some tough shots. It seemed like every time Kentucky got close, Florida just always had an answer, whether it's a big shot, Ruben get a big rebound, and a layup. There was one of those, I think, in the second half. But, yeah, I just thought that was the answer. Every time you thought Kentucky was about to make this thing interesting after Florida led by 9 at the half, they both scored 49 in the second half. But it just seemed like, again, that was kind of the story, is Florida just always had an answer. And, I know some people are going to be like, Florida's, come on, they only won by 9 or whatever, but come on, folks. If we're grading a team based on that at this point, that should tell you how good they are. And so I thought Kentucky played pretty well here. I don't think this was, Florida's not that good. I thought Kentucky came in, got down early, answered the bell a bit, but that's what great teams do. They always have an answer, and that's kind of what Florida did here.
Yeah, kind of came away liking both teams a little bit more. Hard to like Florida more than you have over the past few weeks, but they keep on keeping on. This is one of those games where 10 years ago, maybe a 15-year-old Max Barr would be in the driveway right now shooting up Klavzar in the driveway after that. How about 19 points, 5 of 11 from 3 for Irby? I think Jimmy Dykes was calling him the best sixth man in America. Just what a boost this backcourt has given the Gators in SEC play here. Xaivian Lee playing lights out. Only 25 minutes, 22 points. Doesn't need him. He did have 2 turnovers, and I was ready to come on here and say Xaivian Lee hasn't turned the ball over in February yet. But he did have 2 turnovers. Besides the point, Xaivian Lee has stepped up big time. Boogie Flan might not have had the most efficient offensive game, but he was everywhere defensively. I thought that steal on the Jasper Johnson going to call a timeout, that's just those little championship plays, paying attention to every detail. I don't know how many times, Blake, the broadcast tonight just said Florida is relentless. They are relentless. That Kentucky rebounding was great for the first 30 minutes, and then the last 10 minutes, the physicality started taking its toll.
Yeah, I think that was it. Because like I said, there were a couple ones there where what we said, Florida finished with 17 offensive rebounds. They kind of split them between everyone, honestly. Condon had 4. King Ruben had 4. Tommy H had 3. Fland had 3. I think Can Logden and Brown had 1 apiece. But it's like, I feel like, like I said, it'd be one of those where like Ruben would, Florida miss a shot and you're like, all right, this is the time. Kentucky can get the ball, they can go down, cut into the lead, but then here comes King Ruben, grabs it, puts a layup. And, I feel like there was a lot of instances like that, even just like getting the hands on the ball. Again, that's where, like, even if some of them aren't offensive rebounds, they're just very physical, very active, and that disrupts what you want to do sometimes. So I think that was a big part of it as well. And I mean, listen, here's the deal, guys. Like we've said it all year, right? If you looked at Florida and there was one thing we knew, it was their front court. But if you're telling me that you're going to get a Florida team who, again, we can all probably say, could they have played better? Sure. But, like, doesn't act like Florida played bad here. Like, they played pretty well. Kentucky played pretty well. Let's give credit to both sides. But if you have a situation where Florida, where you feel like, okay, a couple of our guys maybe did not play as well as we thought they would, but yet you have Xaivian Lee who hit his first 4 threes. He finished 4 of 7 from 3. And then you got Klavzar who goes, 5 of 11 from 3. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen every game, but now you're starting to see what can happen if you get one of those 3-4 guys in that backcourt rotation. If you can get 2 of them on the same page on the same night where they're doing stuff like that. Now, like we've said, is Florida going to be maybe a 10-28 team the rest of the way? No, but you've talked about it. Neil Blackman, our guy, Florida Basketball Hour, said it. If you just get them a little bit above that 30% mark, right? What do you say? 32%? Is that the magic number? They shoot 36% in this game, 10-28. That's all you need, because the other part is just so consistent when it comes to, again, whether it's the rebounding, whether it's just the physicality, those things, that you're just not going to beat them, even if you don't think they played their best game. And so that's going to be the difference, man. Like, Lee playing with a ton of confidence out there. We talked about how different that was early in the season. If he could just find his confidence, a little bit of that swagger. You saw him playing with it, I think, in this game. When you make your first 4 shots from 3, that helps. But, Klavzar, man, like, this guy, he can be the difference for this team.
Oh, yeah. You got to credit Kentucky, too. I mean, there were multiple stretches here leaning on their defense. Nice defensive rebounding for Moreno. I mean, he was hanging in there, trading body blows with Rubin. I didn't even think it was one of Rubin's better games. And he still goes for 10 and 11, just a calm 10 and 11. The graphic ESPN put up about Rubin matching Oscar's offensive and defensive rebounding rates from Oscar's senior year. I thought that was pretty cool. A little touch on the analytics there from ESPN. But I mean, Collin Chandler, what a dog. That's just the word I think of when I think Collin Chandler. What a dog. Guy he's a grinder out there, and then he'll just bang a 3 in your face. I mean, where would Kentucky be without a Collin Chandler right now? And you go down the line, Yelovich didn't play his best game, but he gives you 4 offensive boards, keeping you right in there in that rebounding battle. That was what we had circled the whole preview. Was like, if Florida wins this rebounding battle the way we think, how does Kentucky manufacture more offense and more possessions there? Didn't do a great job taking care of the rock, but we've kind of come to terms with Kentucky not having half their starting lineup, and we just don't mention it anymore. How good would this team be? I know that the broadcast said, like, it seems like Kentucky has gotten better once the guys went down in terms of the rotation being finalized and it kind of being in a, an 8-man rotation now. But imagine Jalen Lowe out there being able to, bring the ball up and face that Boogie Flan pressure, and have a Cam Williams space the floor a little bit more. Maybe Owe has another driving lane or 2. So for Kentucky to go into Gainesville, where everyone's been getting smoked, I thought that was an impressive result. I feel good about Kentucky coming out of that game.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I don't know how you could feel that bad about Kentucky coming out of this. Like, is it frustrating because they did miss some easy shots? Yes, but you can also play that the other way. Like, they hit some tough shots. Like, I know Chris brought it up in the chat. He's like, Collin Chandler just made some ridiculous plays like in this game, right? So it goes both ways here. But I don't know how you could come out saying, Kentucky's terrible. I don't know how. I mean, again, let's keep in mind this team had won 8 of 9 coming into this game, just like Florida. And like I said, I think Kentucky just always was right there and felt like they had a chance, but Florida just simply kept besting them each time. They always found a way to keep them at arm's length. And that was the difference. What is that? I know people are bringing up. So I think Brock's got a $5 super chat here saying if Kentucky plays zone defense and restricts the threes, we win the game. But you know what? I'll say this. Like, and this is where, yes, like basketball is about in-game adjustments too, right? But let's not forget that even after this game, okay, it's been input into KenPom now, Max, all right? This game has been added. Florida, who went 10 of 28 from three, still 343rd nationally in three-point percentage after this game that they made 10 of 28 for 36%. So if you're playing your bets here, I mean, you're going to probably be okay with saying, let's just see if you can beat us from three. And that's what we've kept saying about Florida. Like the guard play, if it's there, if these guys are making shots, and let's bring up Irby real quick, because this isn't a one-time thing. We haven't talked about this guy a lot this season, but the reason is, I mean, look at all the other guys we have to talk about. We only have so much time here to spend talking about the Gators. But if you look at Irby, going all the way back to the start of SEC play, struggled in that first game against Missouri, okay? He only played 10 minutes, 5 points, all right? But since then, he has played in all but 2 games, he's played 20 or more minutes, and in all but 2 games, he scored 11 or more points. So he has been rock solid in terms of consistency. And I think, again, that's the part. If we go back to it and we said, what was the one thing heading into this season? Guard depth. Are they going to have that same group of, let's say, 3, like Clayton, Richard, and Martin? No, like that's unfair. But if you get these guys meshing well together and they have this front court that is going to have the defensive player of the year, a potential SEC player of the year, and another potential all-SEC player, then that's hard to beat. So,
yeah. Listen to this stat from our guy, Neil Blackman. If you guys are on Twitter and you're not following the Florida Basketball Hour, regardless of what fan you are, you're just missing out on really good coverage of the conference. Neil Blackman, listen to this stat. In Florida's 5-game win streak, they have trailed for only 2 minutes and 30 seconds in 200 minutes of game time.
It's wild.
2 minutes and 30 seconds they have trailed over the last 200 minutes. Just pure class of the league. Number 1 on Torvik over the last 4 weeks, going back to 4 Saturdays ago. And it's really not close. I mean, Houston's the only team that's close. Florida has figured this team out. With Irby getting hot and then just a little bit of boost from Isaiah Brown in the preseason. We weren't sure if it was going to be Brown, Lloyd, Ingram. Well, Isaiah Brown's taken that role, and I know he's listed at 6'4", plays like he's 6'6" out there with how physical he is. Yeah, class of the league right now. They're going to be favored in the rest of their games from here on out. The closest game is probably going to be about a 5 to 6 point favorite at Texas in the midweek on the 25th. That's probably the toughest test from here on out in terms of, and against the spread, probably about the same thing at Kentucky. About a 5-ish point favorite is going to be the closest spread here for Florida the rest of the season.
Yeah. I'll bring this up too real quickly from Wildcats. He said, I would say both teams played very mediocre, but obviously Florida played more consistent. Going to be a good rematch in March. So I think sometimes the thing is, though, when you have 2 really good teams, both teams aren't going to play great necessarily because you have 2 teams that have pretty clear strengths. And again, there's going to be some pushback on each side. And so I think anytime you have like the best teams play each other, I don't think it's always a guarantee it's going to be a great game, just because you are going to have some of that, just kind of, again, pushback on each side to where it's like, oh man, we weren't as good in that area as we should have been because the other team's pretty good at defending that. And so I think that was probably part of it here. But again, we said it, like Kentucky missed some shots they'd love to have back. Florida, again, would probably like to kept the hammer down a little bit more. But again, that goes back to Kentucky. They just hit tough shots. So I'm not going to blame Florida for that. So I think there's plenty to still be okay with for both of these teams coming out of it. And remember too, Kentucky was as you said, 12.5 point underdog, lost by 9. Guess where Kentucky's not going in the metrics? They're not going down. Right. So they're going to stay just fine. The resume is going to stay fine and all that. And it's a really good win for Florida since Kentucky, again, has turned things around and played pretty well. So, and yeah, too, I mean, Big Gator AJ brings up, I think, the defensive aspect, right? I mean, it winds up being 92-83, but we've said more than anything about these two teams over the past month is how good they've been defensively and how that's kind of sparked the turnaround and really at times, kind of the streak like that has sparked it for both of them. So, all right. $2 super chat here. Yeah, what you got? No, go ahead. We'll get back to this.
My one question is just on a neutral floor right now. Who are you taking over Florida?
I don't know who you would take right now. Now, again, there's going to be some people I've already seen in the chat that are like, well, Florida's not that good. Well, I don't know what to tell you if you don't think Florida's that good. But, I mean, at this very moment, look, there are less than a handful of teams that you're probably going to say that you would favor Florida, like, over Florida at this point. And that's where, like, okay, Michigan, Arizona, I don't know. But, like, if they're playing with the guards playing the way they are right now, and I'm not saying it's all of them every game, but if their guards are hitting shots, if their front court's playing like they're playing, I don't know.
I think right now the only team I would say would be Michigan. I think I would take Florida in the rematch against Arizona. I'd take Florida in the rematch against Duke.
I think Arizona would be favored, but it would be close. Yeah,
it would be 100% Michigan or Arizona. Maybe Houston. I'm not taking anyone else over Florida. What I'm trying to get at is, like, you hear the broadcasts start bringing it up more and more. You start hearing Billy Donovan more and more. You start hearing back-to-back more and more. Weren't really hearing that about Florida early on in the season, but I don't. No. If I had to pick a gut bracket today, Florida's either in my Final Four or championship game.
Or guess what? I think on Tuesday we're going to do another gut bracket. And last time we did a gut bracket, I picked Florida as the national champion. Let's see if it changes based on the bracket. All right, back to Baller here. $2 super chat. Moreno's foul trouble cost Kentucky the game. We mentioned that before we started recording too. What was it? He had 3 at what point, but then they played through it a little bit, still finished with a pretty good stat line. But, that's the thing, right? He ends up playing 20 minutes in this game, or 21, something like that. I don't know if he plays 28, 29, do a couple other bounces go your way. It's certainly possible. But I just still think the overall King Rubin effect, it is what it is. So.
But. Yeah, I was really impressed with him. I'm excited for Moreno next year. I'm already starting to I know you Kentucky fans are too. There's plenty of stuff to still play for this year, but it might just be me. I get so into the transfer portal and building rosters and stuff. I'm already thinking about this Kentucky roster next year and some of the pieces in it, the young pieces, and just getting excited.
Do you have the Torvik update on Florida? It may not be updated this second, but what was it heading into this game, where they were in the past, whatever, how good they were?
It doesn't matter what you do in terms of the last 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks.
Okay.
If you just select the last go in Saturdays and you just go 1 Saturday back, 2, 3, 4 Saturdays back, Florida will be number 1 in Torvik in all of those.
So best team in the country over the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So if anybody out there thinks that we're just hyping up Florida, the metrics support the theory that that's how good they've been. So 9-point win against Kentucky at home right now, who had been one of the hottest teams, not just in the SEC, but in the country. I think you'll take that if you're the Gators. All right. Upcoming schedule for Florida, as you kind of alluded to in terms of the outlook for Kentucky and Florida. Florida's got South Carolina at home on Tuesday. That will be the biggest spread probably, unless South Carolina wins at Alabama, of any game this season, which I think Alabama, South Carolina already is. Then the Gators back-to-back road trips. They go to Ole Miss, they go to Texas, and then, of course, home games against Arkansas, Mississippi State before they finish up at Kentucky. So the rematch on March the 7th. Kentucky, meanwhile, what's left for them? Yes, home against Georgia on Tuesday, who is reeling. We'll get to them in a second. Then they're at Auburn on Saturday. That's a pretty interesting game. Then at South Carolina before, a pretty interesting final stretch with home games against Vanderbilt and Florida and at Texas A&M. So plenty of opportunity for both of these teams. So
real quick, let me just give you the bracket matrix update as of yesterday. Florida was the last 3 seed, so holding firm there in the top 3 seeds, 100% in contention for a 2. Just got to keep.
Who do they need the most help from right now?
For what?
In terms of, let's say, all right, they're in that 3 and they're trying to get to a 2. Like, who are they trying to jump? Who are the teams that
jump? Kansas probably in the 3 line.
They'll jump Kansas today. Yep.
And then the other 3s and 2s, you have Illinois, Iowa State, Purdue, Kansas, Nebraska, Michigan State. Houston's the first 2. I don't think Florida's jumping Houston anytime soon.
They're not jumping Houston. Probably not jumping Iowa State based on their winning against Kansas.
So it really comes down to Illinois and Purdue, Kansas, Nebraska, and Michigan State. Florida has to jump to get into that. Honestly, a huge difference between a 3 and a 2 for your second round game. And then the Cats. They were the last 6 as of yesterday. So probably just going to stick there as a 6 for right now.
Unless somebody on that 7 line gets just a huge win of sorts, I don't think Kentucky's dropping. I think they're going to stay on that 6. Yeah. Like I said, a 9-point loss from just the analytical side of things. You're not going to move hardly at all on that. So
yeah.
All right. Let's see. Here we go. What else we got here? Okay. That's it for those. I think we got all the super chats for this game. So like we said, big win for Florida. And we will look, standings wise too. Think about it. Like, this is where Florida goes to 10-2. Kentucky going to drop back with Vanderbilt now at 8-4, which there could be more teams that join them based on Alabama and Tennessee still to come in games where they are, significant favorites. Missouri could be there as well if they beat Texas. But yeah, Arkansas 8-3, pretty big game for Arkansas, because if they were to lose to Auburn, then you're talking about nice little padding for Florida. They're at the top at 10-2. So, but we'll see how that goes. All right. More things to talk about if you guys want to keep talking about this game, Florida, Kentucky, or just have questions, comments on the Cats or the Gators. Moving forward, throw those super chats in. We'll get to them. But as always, we're going to run through some of the other action from the day, and we'll give you an update in just a bit on our plans for the other games and how we're going to approach that. But elsewhere, Vanderbilt won again. As I said, the Commodores also 8-4 now because they got another victory, and they get an 82-69 win over Texas A&M. Commodores, talk about teams that are hot. Well, look at this. They've now won 5 of 6 after losing 3 in a row. And it's like the one they lose in there is just, the biggest head scratcher of all against Oklahoma. But they've rebounded since that game, won at Auburn. Now they beat A&M by double digits. And Max, if I'd have told you, we always play the guess the stat type game. All right, against Texas A&M, a team that the style they play and all this other stuff, right? If I'd have told you, just said, all right, Max, simple test here. Tyler Tanner scored 4 points. Does Vanderbilt win this game? You'd have been like, against Texas A&M? The team that just goes out there and all over the court, and they're going to – Tyler Tanner scored 4 points. Vanderbilt won by 13. Without Duke Miles and Frankie Collins, by the way.
Yeah, we do have updates on – finally. We've got, good updates. Finally. Okay, so here's some quotes from Byington right after the game. On Duke Miles. Duke's attacking his rehab. He's doing workouts. He's competitive. He wants to get back to being a great teammate. I think we'll have him back soon, Byington said with a slight smile on his face. It's hard to give a timetable, but I think within a week or two for sure. All right, there it is.
For sure.
I think within a week or two for sure. Okay, Miles be back within a game or 2 or 3.
Or 4.
He also says Duke will be back soon. We need him. It's hard to coach without having him. We need him back as quick as he can. And then on Frankie Collins, a little bit less optimistic here. Quote, with Frankie, we changed things up with his treatment and his rehab plans. We're hoping this kind of changes up and helps him out. It's a little bit uncertain with him. We're still hoping we get him back. That doesn't sound as good. There was no within a week or 2 for sure there for Mr. Collins. Hope we get him back. It would help out the perimeter defense, give him another body in that backcourt. But Duke Miles, all right. Finally, we get a nice update on him. But yeah, They didn't need him today. Right there. We said in the preview, hey, this is a Vanderbilt team that gets taken advantage of in the front court. This is also a Texas A&M team that gets taken advantage of in the front court. Is that advantage A&M for you're playing on the road against a team that's probably not going to crush you on the glass? Or is that advantage Vanderbilt? You're going to be able to play your style. I thought Tyler Nickel getting out and hot early was really big for Vanderbilt just to kind of play in control. Didn't want Tyler Tanner out there as the only guard running around against that press trying to, really push it on a comeback. So I thought Vanderbilt having the lead was huge for them.
Yeah, Tyler Nickel played really well here. That was one of my things in the preseason. One of my bold predictions was, hey, this could be a first-team All-SEC type guy. Obviously, we know that Tanner and Miles were kind of ahead in that race when it came to just overall production. But really, if you look at Tyler Nickel's numbers in SEC play, it's like they've been really good, man. Like he should be in that all SEC type contention. Like even if it's a third team type guy, if Vanderbilt finishes strong here, just based on I think the production, because like scoring matters, right? Like sometimes we're gonna look at guys and be like, well, what's the overall profile? Like, is he necessarily someone like just from a pure stat standpoint that's going to give you a ton? And I mean, in terms of like just raw stats, right? Every game, but like he has a skill set, and that's what we always talk about. Like how many games now in SEC play? I got to look at the number here. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 4 or 5 games of 4 or more threes. He's had like 3, 5 of 11 type games. One today against Texas A&M where he scores 25, 5-11 from 3. But like it's the minutes played too, right? It's like he's such a valuable part of that, and he makes the opponents guard them differently because like he is on the floor, and like you just have to pick your battles with Vanderbilt. What do you do? Like how do you guard these guys with Tyler Tanner, what he can do with the ball in his hands? And then it's like, well, how do you help off if Tyler Nickel's out there? Or, you've got Jalen Washington that plays like this. Okereke, big game from him. And it's like that they are just such a difficult team to pick and choose your battles on how you're going to guard them, because we've always talked about like the Mark Byington pace and space type style, and the way they're going to get down the court and really pressure you there to get your defense set up and all those things. And so, yeah, it was really good for them to get off to a good start, and that's too like the way they attack sometimes. They're going to get to the free throw line, and yeah, I thought this was very impressive, honestly, because. I mentioned it many times, right? I thought this could be the kind of game that could give them problems just based on how A&M plays. But, they kind of just sort of took care of their business, and knowing that if you get Duke Miles back and he's good to go, I mean, with Frankie Collins, I think you're looking at a team that like has the profile of like a high 3 seed. But like even without Frankie Collins, I think you're looking at a team that if they have Duke Miles back and he's Duke Miles, dude, they're still a team that I think can be a beyond the Sweet 16 like caliber squad, just with the way that they play and how they make you guard them. So,
yeah, 100%. I think Mark is right on here. Honestly, so he says Buckyball's losing steam. It just seems that they're a little tired out there. They're already playing down a guy in Mbako, already being an undersized team without much size. And a huge part of their success early in conference play and in non-conference play was the shooting of Ruben Dominguez. Well, after, 2 months of having to play power forward as a 6'6" wing shooter, his percentages have dropped a good amount. Jakari Lane, his percentages are not what they were last year at, where was he? North Alabama. Yeah. And so you have these guys here playing undersized, and their percentages are starting to drop a little bit. Over the last month on Torvik, over the last 4 weeks, Texas A&M, they're 4-4, but they're still 21st in the nation. I mean, they're not a they're not a bad team by any means. 3 points at Alabama, 1 point against Missouri, and then 13 points here with the Florida game sandwiched in between. It just seems like the legs are a little shot. The 3-pointers are falling a little bit short, and that press doesn't have the they're not flying around forcing as much chaos in the second half as they were like about a month ago.
Michael says that Florida stole A&M's soul. Yeah, Florida can do that to some people.
They've done it to a lot.
They've done it to a lot of teams, it feels like. But yeah, that's the thing, right? We said, I even mentioned, I'm like, don't get too carried away after that week where they lost at Alabama by 3 and at home against Florida, because you're just like, okay, Florida's been doing that to teams, losing Alabama by 3, so what, right? But now it's like, okay, now you just had another one of those weeks where it's like you lose a home game to Missouri, who was on the bubble, and then now you go lose by double digits at Vanderbilt. So that is where, okay, now it's time to take a step back and be like, all right, yeah, we got to see if this team's going to turn it around. And here's the thing. I don't think they're going to do it next week, because next week they got Ole Miss at home and they're at Oklahoma. Now, the at Oklahoma one's going to get a little interesting, as we're going to talk about in a second. But I don't think they're having an over week next week. So, like, at a certain point, you just got to win games. And this was a team, like we said, that still needed some good stuff on their resume. And this would have been a great opportunity to get one of these last 4, because that would have been a nice little boost to have, even if you lose the other 3. But, to lose all 4, it's not ideal. So I think that's where things are going to get interesting. And I think something, too, like they've not been as good imposing their style on teams as they were before that stretch. And I think that's been a big difference. So we'll see if they can do it in some of these games moving forward. But after those 2, still got to go to Arkansas, home games against Texas and Kentucky, which, I mean, in all honesty, if you think about it, that Texas game could be like a, winner in, losing out type scenario based on where those 2 teams are at in a couple weeks, potentially. So we're going to see. But yeah, not moving in the right direction for the Aggies.
Just real quick to give you perspective on how the swing of the Aggies the rest of their season can go. These are their projected margins from KenPom in their next 6 games. 9 points, 1, 7, 2, 2, 1.
Oh,
that's the projected differences for Texas A&M. That's a lot of one possession games that can go one way or the other. That's going to have a major impact on your seeding, or, I mean, if they got to start winning games here, Blake.
Yeah. Vanderbilt, meanwhile, has moved up to 11th in KenPom. They're back up almost to the top 10 for the Commodores. So anyone who was like, oh, no, they've turned it around. I mean, think about it. They beat Kentucky by 25. They won at Auburn. Now they beat A&M by 13. Yeah, the Oklahoma loss is very disappointing, but they kind of made up for it, if you really think about it, based on these past 2 results. So it's kind of allowed them to get back on track. But their main schedule is pretty difficult, man. I mean, that's where, again, we're going to find out, because remember, 4 of their last 6 now are going to come on the road because of the swap from Oxford to Nashville, which we talked about. They're going to play 3 straight to finish the season on the road, but their next game is at Missouri on Wednesday, home against Tennessee, home against Georgia, then at Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. So they got some pretty big games on there, but the thing is, even if they were to, let's say, go 3-3, their resume is still going to be pretty stacked. Like, it's like, it's going to be a pretty stacked resume just based on, number of good wins and all that. So we might play the, predict the seed game with Vanderbilt. We did that for Kentucky this past week. We're going to do it for a few more teams this upcoming week. I think Vanderbilt's range could be interesting. So we'll see.
I think the underrated storyline with Vanderbilt over the past 2 or 3 weeks has been freshman Chandler Bing taking over Tyler Harris's role, kind of next to Tanner, underneath Tyler Nickel. He's been incredible. It's kind of phased Tyler Harris out of the lineup there. And that's, I mean, Bing playing the way he has is a big reason why you've seen this analytical push here from Vandy in mid-February.
Yeah, Chandler Bing has now played 19 or more minutes in 6 straight games, and he scored 5, 11, 3, 4, 8, 11, grabbed some rebounds, some steals, some block shots. So
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah. All right, there you go. Vanderbilt, another win. The Commodores, we said, moved to 8-4 in SEC play. They're right there in the race still. The Gators, though, leading the way at 10-2, and we'll see how it shakes out if Arkansas can stay a game back if they win tonight against Auburn. But, yeah, very interesting still in that middle of the pack. even though the Gators are starting to pull ahead a little bit here, potentially. All right, let's talk about some sponsors before we get some quick words on the way out about this this Oklahoma-Georgia game. Let's tell you about our friends at And Collar, ANDcollar.com. Performance menswear brand. They're tremendous. Remember, they invented the Workleisure. It's kind of my setting right now. I'm working, but a little leisure here at Cracker Barrel. See if anybody just jumps in now. It's like, man, what's Blake doing? He's still sitting out there at Cracker Barrel, huh? And Collar, though. You could sit at Cracker Barrel in your pants, your polos, your button-ups, your quarter zips, your suits. Plenty of people go to Cracker Barrel wearing suits. You can head over there, get a nice discount. SEC 16 for 16% off over at andcollar.com. ANDcollar.com, SEC 16, andcollar.com. Don't forget about ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting, SEC 25 for all their phone case accessories, golf accessories. It's all there, SEC 25, 25% off over at ROKFORM. And Icon Wallets. You want to pay with cash at Cracker Barrel? You can do it with your Icon wallet. You can pay with a card. You can pay whatever the hell you want to pay with, as long as they accept that form of payment. You're going to put it in your wallet, Icon Wallets, because officially licensed collegiate wallets over there, the premium Napa leather. It's tremendous. And you're going to get a nice discount over there. SEC 16 for 20% off over at Icon Wallets. What a group of sponsors. My goodness. Cracker Barrel. They're next. All right. Can you imagine? Can you imagine us live from Cracker Barrel? Wow. Country fried steak, little biscuits, little cornbread muffins. Ooh. All right. Speaking of muffins, I have no idea where that was headed, but Oklahoma, maybe some victory muffins for the Sooners because they get a 94-78 win over Georgia. Holy cow. Oof. The biggest talking point of this game, I'm sure you saw it. The popcorn machine catching on fire. Have you ever, I've never seen something like that. Very scary situation. I looked up and you're like watching this live on air, and game got delayed a few minutes, but they put it out. But yeah, you could just seeing the visual up there, like what is going on? But yeah, so man, I don't even know what we say here about Georgia. Congrats to Oklahoma. Wow. I know. Okay. I mean, what do we chalk this up to? Is this more about Oklahoma or is it more about Georgia? Or is it both? It's probably both, right?
Well, when Oklahoma shoots 56% from three and out rebounds you, you're probably not going to beat Oklahoma. Georgia looked good in the first half. Luke Kane was playing well. I know Jeremiah Wilkinson in this game again. I think it was something like a 29-5 run there in the second half. First 10 minutes of the second half. I think there was 2 kill shots. I think there was 2 separate 10-0 runs for Oklahoma, which with the way that Oklahoma has been defending lately is alarming. Yeah. For Georgia, going in the wrong direction here. When you look at Evan Mia's team resume rank, where he gives you kind of a projection for March Madness, you've got Georgia projected as a 9-10 seed right now. Like we are out of Georgia locked into the tournament conversation where they were like 90% on Torvik a few games ago. It's getting danger zone here. For the Bulldogs if they don't turn this thing around quick.
I think I mean, it's, and remember too, like they have played some games without Jeremiah Wilkinson.
Yes.
So that these last 2, certainly you could factor that in. If they're in a close scenario committee, he's back, ready to go, that kind of thing. Maybe. All right. But you also can't, probably be losing by 16. We just talked about Vanderbilt losing to Oklahoma by 1 at home. That's a little bit different than Georgia going on the road losing by 16 here.
Yeah.
And so, and remember too, like Wilkinson did play in 3 of the games they had lost prior to that, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Texas. So like you're talking about a team that's lost 5 of 6 and now is just in a tough spot, man. Because we kind of talked about their remaining schedule too, right? Here's their next 3 games. They're at Kentucky. A pissed off Kentucky team is up next. Home against Texas, then they're at Vanderbilt. I mean, are they going to be favored in any of those games? I think Texas could be favored against them on the road, potentially. We'll see what Texas does before that. But that's going to be rough, man. That's a rough stretch for a team that absolutely they got to have wins. I mean, they've got to. So, I don't know. Their only win is LSU in the past, almost month? So,
yeah.
What did Torvik had him like seed range? Do we? I don't remember if we brought that up before this game.
It hasn't updated yet. Before this game, they had a 75% chance to get an at-large bid. That's got to drop a decent amount. It's going to be much closer to 50% now.
I would think so. Yeah. Whew. Meanwhile, for Oklahoma, I mean, it's 2 games, but come on. I mean, the Sooners are like, hey, we're back. Like, the season has started? Really? Like, it's time. They win at Vanderbilt. They beat Georgia. Their schedule is pretty tough the rest of the way. They're at Tennessee on Wednesday, home against A&M, home against Auburn. They could just be the spoiler here the rest of the way. You know, they we said a minute ago, they beat an A&M. That could hurt A&M pretty bad. But
yeah,
we'll find out. So
I think it was either Mother Carol or Holly said in the preseason that it was a super chat. It was like, give us like your most confident, like bold prediction. And one of mine was Oklahoma is preseason 58th on KenPom. There are not 57 teams better than the Sooners this year. Well, it might have just took them about 80% of the season, but they've passed 58. And now after this game, the Sooners are up to 54th in KenPom. I don't want to get out ahead of myself here because they've got to go play at Tennessee.
Oh boy, here it comes.
I don't want to get out ahead of myself here. But if the Sooners keep playing spoiler here.
Oh no. Don't do it. Don't you do this to yourself. Don't.
I heard a pulse. Did you hear it? Did you hear the pulse? There's a pulse for the Sooners making it March. Come on.
Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. All right. Well, we'll see about that.
Let's reel it back in.
We'll see about that.
Dykes say he thinks there's going to be 11 teams in? I don't know, Jimmy, but I love your
Well, so I was thinking that earlier. Now that the way it's played out, right? The Missouri-Texas game is going to be interesting. But I do think the way it's starting to trend, your theory, I can buy a little bit. But I think it still comes down to there's at least one team in Dayton, no matter what.
100%.
But that's the tournament. That's the tournament still. I don't know, though. I honestly, the reason I am a little bit again, this Missouri-Texas game, I think we're going to look back and say this is like the defining moment because I really right now, if you ask me if I think Georgia's going to make the tournament, I would say no. I'm looking at their remaining schedule. I don't see it. I don't. Even if they beat South Carolina and Mississippi State on the road, I don't think that's if they lose the other games, which I think they will, again, probably be underdogs in all of them. Not to say they can't win them, but I think if that was the setup, I don't think they would get in. But
if FanDuel gave a line for Georgia to make the tournament, I'd be very curious to see what that is.
Surely they're gonna do that after this game, I would think, because they had Missouri on there, right? Yeah. Because Missouri was on there at one point, so I think they'll do one for Georgia. But I think that's to me the odd team out right now.
I think so too.
But I mean that's also easy to say because they've lost 5 of 6. But I don't know. Texas, I think will find a way. Missouri, I think finds a way. But I don't know. I'm just starting to think that Georgia plays their way out of it. But we'll see. If they don't, the Georgia social media team has plenty to work with here for the NCAA tournament announcement. Plenty of stuff. Missouri gave us a little love in their recent video, so I appreciate the team over there. I don't know if that's anything good, but I know it was in there. I just got I got tagged on it, so I was like, I think I may have said something stupid, but that wouldn't be the first time. So we'll find out. Okay, so there's the action that's taking place already on Saturday. currently in progress. Tennessee's up early, 14-7, a touchdown on Lane Kiffin and the Tigers. Other games still to be played: Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, Missouri, Texas. Will we do a reaction tonight? Answer: I'm not sure, because internet's not the greatest here. You can see I am, again,
how late's the
streaming
Cracker
live.
Barrel open still?
Listen, I'm not at Cracker Barrel, folks. Okay, Big Gator EJ over here saying that you're gonna put me on the new Cracker Barrel logo. Like, just gonna, this is it right here. Just say cheese. But so the thing is, like, again, it's like logistically, this is like my best location. And well, if I do this when it's dark outside, it's going to be like the Blair Witch Project. And I don't think you want that. So we're unsure. We may do something tonight. If we do, it may be Max Barr solo. So you guys better be nice. Or we may do it early tomorrow morning. By early tomorrow morning, I mean probably one of the earliest streams we've ever done, because that may be the only opportunity in terms of like our setup. So either way, just so you guys have a heads up on our plans for that. So it is Valentine's Day night too. So a lot of love in the air, all that stuff out there.
Impact on me.
Max going out on a big date. So
yeah, I think I've got a date with what's on my screen right now. We've got Purdue, Iowa. We've got Wilmington against Hofstra ending. I've got plenty of stuff to keep me occupied. Yeah.
All right. Super chat's on the way out here. Let's jump into it real quick as we get into these. Shout out to Crizzle earlier.
Yes.
I think rising up the standings, I think Crizzle has in recent months.
I know. Crizzle, if you catch us on the replay, try to find me on Twitter. Meet up at that Gator Bar. Big time Florida game.
Look at that. Look at Max Barr. Building relationships within the community. $2 super chat. We appreciate Crizzle. That'll buy you a round of drinks right there. $2. Come on. You tell them Max Barr. That's all you need. $2 right there. Nick, $2 super chat. Shouting out the Kentucky fans in a very positive way here on Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Jeff's here. $10 super chat.
Jeff.
Now that's going to buy you some drinks right there. Nice to give the front court a break when your backcourt plays like this. That's right. So you know what, guys? Take the night off. Go Gators, says Jeff. So we appreciate that. All right. Anything else on the way out here? So, yes, Ryan, Valentine's Day night. That's exactly what it is. Yes, that's the accurate phrase. Absolutely. All right.
That's it.
That's all we got for now. So, like we said, TBD on the next stream. Could be this evening, but remember, Missouri, Texas is the last game. And if we anticipate that game going 2.5 hours, I think it's very likely we may just get up and do this early in the morning.
Vokey-Titus started at the free throw line. Vokey-Titus at the line right now.
That's the problem. Is there may be a lot of free throws in that game. But we're gonna play it by ear again. So don't everybody go wild on us if we don't do one tonight. We will recap the action at the latest early tomorrow morning. So that is our plan as it sits right now. So I'll be back at Cracker Barrel first thing in the morning, ready to go. So, all right, we're out of here. Go watch the games. Who's about to come on? Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee's on right now, and then you got a little bit of a wait for the. Yeah, I forgot. There's 3 games in that 8:30 Eastern slot.
I know.
Oh man. So, no, look at Sam. You had to come in at the last second. Can you imagine the fun Sam would have had if he'd have been here for this entire 49 minutes with me sitting in the chair like this? Oh, incredible.
Black site.
CIA black site. That's where I'm at, doing some work. All right, we're out of here. We appreciate you guys. Again, turn on your notifications. We go live reacting to these other games. And if you don't join in on those, then, of course, Power Rankings on Monday and all that good stuff. All right. We appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.